Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host 𝙒𝙗𝙠 Iyer. Today I'm sitting with Ramesh RB, and Ramesh RB is someone who is on the verge of coaching some greatness, and we'll come to what that is in just a moment. But before we do all that, let's welcome our guest of the day, Sri Ramesh RB. His name is long, that's why I'm going to call him by his initials. Ramesh, Namaskaram and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskaram.
Ramesh, all this is happening in very, very short time. We decided that we are going to have this interview in the morning, and I redid a few things on my side, and then I came over here. So thank you first of all for the gift of time, because you are here on some very important task, and we'll get to that in just one moment. Let's be patient. And let's first listen to Ramesh RB, who he is and why he is in San Francisco today. Ramesh, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So about myself, first of all, I would like to thank PGurus and yourself for this opportunity to be in your channel. I'm a great admirer of the work you are doing, and I've been following your channel for a very long time now. And I remember, like, when you had called me in the morning, I could recognize your voice. So that's how well I am familiar with your work. So I'm really happy to be here. Now, regarding myself, I'm a chess coach from Chennai, and I run a chess academy called Gurukul since 2008. And chess is my passion. And I've seen that in India we did not have a healthy ecosystem back then. We had a paucity of many things. Like, we had paucity of quality tournaments, quality trainers, quality infrastructure, access to technology was not available for everyone. So there was a paucity of everything, and I felt I could contribute at least in one sphere to fill the gap, that is in the realm of training. So that's how I become a full-time trainer.
Wonderful. So I'm going to break the surprise. The reason I'm with Ramesh today is he is the coach of Praggnanandhaa. And what will follow is a sit down with him for a few minutes also. That will be a separate segment. But first, I want you all to understand how Ramesh grew up in Chennai, and the kind of environment he had for playing chess, what he found as the positives and what he found as things that needed to be done better, and how he gave up a thriving profession to be a full-time coach and mentor. I mean, this is the deep end of the pool that somebody's taking a plunge, and that's not easy. That's not for the faint of the heart. So Ramesh, take us back to the time when you started playing chess, and then take it from there all the way up until today. Go ahead.
Sure. Okay. So, as we all know, chess is supposed to have been invented in India.
Yes.
It was called
Yes.
Chaturang back then. And then it went to Persia. Subsequently, from Persia, it went to Europe. And then there were some basic changes in the rules of the game. And also from there, it went to Russia. And back during the Cold War between the Soviet Union and the USA, so the Soviet Union government, they wanted to compete with the USA in all aspects, and not just compete but also excel. So they wanted to create a very intelligent population so that they can excel in various fields. So they took chess as a tool, and they felt like if we can introduce chess in schools, chess to all the population, and excel in chess, then we can create an intelligent population which will be very useful for their agenda. So this is my understanding. And then what happened, they invested heavily into developing this game. So they introduced chess in schools. So back in early 90s, if you go to Moscow, I mean, even a taxi driver would know about chess. So, and Anand has said in many interviews, like, one of the most intelligent chess audience is always found in Russia. So almost everyone knew the game well. So chess flourished in Russia, and we were under the British rule, and there were many challenges we were facing. So hardly anyone took any sport, let alone chess, seriously. So we didn't have a sporting culture back then. And under the circumstances, India also was quite close to the Soviet Union. So they formed 4 major clubs in India where they had the consulate. So one of that was in Chennai, and so near the Russian consulate, gave a place to host a chess club. It was named a Tall Chess Club after a former world chess champion. And that's where Anand, when he was 6 years old, he used to visit with his mother and he learned the nuances of the game. And eventually he became India's first Grandmaster in 1988. And this is just before the Soviet Union fell. And when he became a Grandmaster in 88, and that's when I was inspired and I came to chess. I was 12 years old at the time and I wanted to emulate Anand and be someone like him. So that's how I came into the game. And I came to the game at the age of 12, but if you see now, the culture is children as young as 4 or 5 years old, they take up to the game.
Yes.
And like in case of Pragg, he became a Grandmaster at the age of 12. When
Wow.
I just learned the nuances, he was already a Grandmaster. And to put things in perspective, I started at the age of 12, but I could become a Grandmaster only at the age of 27. So it took me 15 years to become a Grandmaster, but for Pragg, he did it at the age of 12. So at the time, it was world's second youngest Grandmaster. And then when I started playing chess, there was a paucity in everything. For example, we did not have chess literature. Back then, most of the chess literature was written in Russian language. So the Russians felt like all the learning that they have taken, how to excel in the sport, they didn't want the knowledge to spread around. So the books, most of the books were in Russian language. So we could not really access that information, how we need to train, how we need to improve. And we did not have any good publishers in chess in India. Even now we don't have one. We only have some distributors. So getting good literature in chess and in a pre-computer era was very essential, but it was not very easy to get access. And another thing was there were no quality tournaments, because to improve in any sport, we need to compete with others on a regular basis. And we did not have quality tournaments happening in India. So this was the other handicap. And the third handicap is, despite the paucity of literature and playing opportunities, if someone makes progress, then it will be helpful if we can get access to some good trainers, because they can accelerate the process of our growth and also improve our depth in learning. So there was a paucity in trainers as well. So under the circumstances, it was really creditable for Viswanathan Anand to have achieved the greatness. He has won the world championship title 5 times. And so it's really very inspiring. He has been inspiring across generations. So you can imagine, at the age of 12, I came to chess because of Anand. And at the age of 53, he's still inspiring thousands of youngsters around the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So so you started playing chess at the age of 12. And so did you have to go to a YMCA or this Russian consulate? You had to go there to play chess? That was how it started?
Yeah, that's how it started. We used to go to the Tall Chess Club in the evenings from school directly. And then like-minded chess enthusiasts, they will come there and we will play with each other. And once in a while, someone will come and give a lecture, and we used to listen and learn from them. So basically it was through trial and error. It was a very slow process. And the growth was also not very uniform and in a professional way. It was very haphazard. Only very few could come out to the top successfully under this format. And that was when I realized, and then in a few years, the Soviet Union broke up. And this created a lot of opportunity for players around the world, because most of the top players and trainers in Russia, for the first time, they could travel abroad. So they settled down in US. Largely, they were settling down in different European nations and in US. And the Indian Federation back then, around 98 or so, they invited few Russian Grandmasters to come to India and train our Indian team. So I was part of the Indian team back then. So I had an opportunity to work with a couple of Russian trainers. And I could immediately see they kind of open new windows. That's really important for young mind. So you see more opportunities, then you are ready to explore. So that was really inspiring, and I always felt bad that we did not have such an environment in our country. And then when I was trying to find solutions to the problems I was facing as a player, I found that there is really no one to ask. Our senior players, they were still active as players and they were not trainers seriously, and they were thinking about their own improvement.
Of course.
So when you are a player, you are focusing totally on yourself, how I can progress. So I felt the need, there was a big demand, there was a big need that someone has to give answers to the doubts which players
Yes.
face. And back then we had to rely on foreign trainers. And one thing that was bothering also, like the Westerners, they really did not understand how about our culture, how our way of perspective, how we look at things, and so how do we define success, what we define as hard work. So everything, there was a difference between the way West looks at things and how we approach. For example, like my father used to say, you should not blindly go after success. You should first become deserving,
Right.
and then success will come to you. So you should not chase behind success. Now, so I work with many players from the West. When I explain this, it doesn't really reach them, because culturally they feel like success is something you need to strive for.
Right.
So I'm just giving an example. So there were many differences to the way they were looking at things and how we are approaching things. So I also felt the need that we have to find Indian solutions to the problems Indians face as players, because we have differences in how we think and approach. So then that's when in 1998 I got an opportunity from the Indian Federation to go as coach for the Indian junior team. Junior team means below the age of 20. So I was 22 years old. So I was sent as a coach for the under 20 team. I don't know on what basis they sent me. It just happened, fate probably. And I went to Iran with the Indian team, and both in the men and women section our players got gold medal. But it was not due to my effort. The players were
Congratulations.
really good on their own. But it also gave me a lot of confidence that maybe this is a new avenue that has opened up, and this is something I can explore. And then the same year I got an offer from one player, Aarti Ramaswamy, who subsequently became my wife later. So she was my first student. So her parents approached me. Back then we did not have a coaching culture in India. So they said, like, we want my daughter to just play with you and learn the game. Would you be interested? So I said definitely, and then we started working on a daily basis, and in the very next year she won World Under 18 Championship.
Wow.
So that was a very big break for Indian chess and also for women chess. And so it was a very good thing that happened to Indian chess, and also it gave me a lot of confidence that I could be an effective trainer. So I started getting more students coming to me, and initially there was a lot of skepticism that including myself, I used to believe like when we play with the Western players, we have no chance. So that inferiority complex was always there at the back of the mind. And but this success gave me a lot of confidence, and more players started approaching me to train their children. And then most of my students, like 9 out of 10, they will start immediately winning some tournaments. And then immediately the word spread around that I'm an effective trainer. So that's how the shift from being a player to trainer happened.
So hold on. You're a player, and then you became a coach.
Yeah.
But you also had a career.
Yes.
And at some point of time, you felt that you had a choice to make, whether I continue in my gainfully employed career or I plunge full time into being a coach. So when did that happen? How was that decision made? Walk us through that.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I started training in 98, and then I started doing, like, I was working with Indian Oil Corporation back then, and I had to go for the office work for half a day, and they gave me the other half of day to practice on my chess. And at that time I also started working with many players, and they started showing good results. Then I immediately understood, like, I can be more effective as a trainer than as a player. And as a player, my achievements were not so great. I became an international master at the age of 19, and then in 1996, and then in 2003 I became a Grandmaster. So I was India's 10th Grandmaster back then.
Wow.
So there were not many Grandmasters in our country. And one of the main reasons is, as I mentioned, paucity of few things. And one of the main reason I would say is we didn't have international tournaments happening. So to become a Grandmaster, you need to play with foreign players on a very consistent basis in 3 different tournaments at least, and meet some criteria. So we had only one international tournament happening in India. So every February we used to have a tournament in Calcutta. So that's where we had the opportunity to play with foreign players. So it was really hard back then to become a Grandmaster.
So if you're playing chess in India, how does the international seeding happen?
So the World Chess Organization, it's called FIDE. It's based in Switzerland. And the FIDE, there are many tournaments happening in India and around the world. So they're called FIDE-rated tournaments. And in these FIDE-rated tournaments, if we participate, and there'll be players who already have a FIDE rating, and we have to compete with them. And then if we have a positive score, either we make a draw or we beat them, then we get a rating. And then once you get a rating, then based on every game's result. So if I win or draw or lose, accordingly my rating will go up or down. My points will, yeah. So that's how the system works. So we started having few FIDE-rated tournaments, but to become a Grandmaster, we need very strong FIDE-rated tournaments where Grandmasters from other countries come to India and compete. So I became a Grandmaster in 2003, and in 2002 I won the British Championship. So back then in England, like the former colonies, they could go and play in British Championship.
I see.
For example, in every country, like in India, in Indian National Championship, only Indians can play.
Right.
Even NRIs are not allowed. But in UK Championship, Indians could go and compete.
Like a Commonwealth member, is it?
Yes, as Commonwealth member, we could go and compete. So I went with the Indian team and I won the British Championship in 2002. And in 2008, I won the Commonwealth Championship. And around this point, I was already very effective as a trainer. I could produce many medals for India, and I was also feeling like that is where my heart was. I felt I could really make a difference. So I was, and in the meantime I married Aarti in 2003, and I was telling her like, this is what I want to be I want to be a trainer rather than a player. So we were looking for the right time to take that plunge, and then there was few triggers, and then in 2008 I quit my job and playing career and started Chess Gurukul in Chennai. And at the time I had 2 students who were coming to the academy, and so there were many challenges at the initial stages, but through God's grace,
absolutely, absolutely. See, iOS's loss is India's gain.
So I remember, like when I quit my job, one gentleman mentioned like, do you know like how big Indian Oil is?
Correct.
Do you know what a big mistake you are making?
Of course.
And I said like, I believe I fully understand Indian Oil is a huge organization, but India is bigger.
No, you remember, I'm sure you've seen some of the interviews that I do of Dr. Subramanian Swamy, and he always says that Indians always want guarantee. If it is poverty, that's fine. We want guaranteed poverty. That's what they are more concerned about than that, take high risk, high reward approach. So, when did Praggnanandhaa happen?
Okay, so I started working with many young players, and they started doing well at the international level and the national level. And subsequently, like I was invited by Tamil Nadu Journalists Association to give an award to some young players who have done well in chess, and I did not really know who they were. So I went to the hotel and where the function was to happen, and I understood like it was Pragg to whom I was giving the award. He was 7.5 years old, I believe, at the time. So 10 years ago. So around 2012, I believe. And when I was waiting among the audience, Pragg's father, he approached me and he said, like, would I be interested to work with Pragg and his sister Vaishali? And back then, Pragg's sister Vaishali was much stronger. She was world under 12 champion, I believe, and Pragg was world under 8 champion. So in the same family, they had 2 world champions. So of course, I was really happy to say yes, and then that's how we started working. And one thing I should say is like they live in, I live in T Nagar in Chennai, and they live in Padi, which is like an hour or an hour and a half back then to commute. And we had the sessions in the evenings usually back then. And so they used to come like, and his father is physically challenged, and with great difficulty he used to bring both the kids to the academy, and then they will bring even the dinner in tiffin box, and then after the classes are over, they sit in the academy, have the food, and then probably they reach by 10:30 in their home. So it was really tough, and it's really heartening like to see like there is abundance of talent in India, and we just need a right kind of environment and good ecosystem to nurture this talent. And I'm not just talking about chess, but across the field, I should say.
Absolutely, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So, you and Praggnanandhaa are here in the United States in San Francisco. You're going to be taking part in a tournament. I think starts tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Talk us a little bit about that. What is the format? Chess, thanks to Vishwanathan Anand and Praggnanandhaa, it's getting really popular now. Really getting popular.
Yeah.
I know at least a couple of my own cousins and nephews and nieces were all saying, we want to get into chess. How do we do that?
Yeah.
Because they think that I know somebody who can, help them to get into some good place. So you get the idea, right? So this is something that happens mainly because of success. Success breeds success.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about this tournament.
Yeah, so we are here in San Francisco to compete in the final leg of Champions Chess Tour. So the current world champion in chess is Magnus Carlsen. He is from Norway, and he became a world champion in 2013 by defeating Anand in a world championship match happening in Chennai. So Chennai was the host, and under CM Jayalalitha, and Magnus bet Anand and became a world champion. And he was, I believe, 22 years old. So one of the youngest world champions. And since then, Anand was the world champion for many years, was dominating from like 2000 till 2013. And then Magnus became a world champion. And the very next year, Anand qualified again to play challenge him again. And again, Magnus came out on the top. So, and then he has played many world championship matches and successfully defended the title till now. And out of this background, we had the COVID issue, lockdowns, and all the sports stopped, all the sports activities stopped around the world, including chess. And that's when Magnus came up with the idea of organizing online events. So he took the game. We also had the Queen's Gambit serial in Netflix, which popularized the game in the West, which had a very positive influence among the general population in the West especially. And subsequently, he started organizing major tournaments online with very good prize money, and he himself competed in those tournaments. And this is really important for the game because there was always apprehension that online means like some cheating can happen, and this is very difficult to monitor when players are playing from their home from different countries. And the world champion himself competing in such tournaments gave a lot of credibility, and it encouraged other top players to compete in these tournaments. And so he started this Champion Chess Tour, where selected top players from around the world, they'll compete in 8 tournaments, and this is the last tournament in 2022. And to qualify for this tournament in 2021, they invited top 10 boys and top 10 girls from around the world, and they divided them into 2 different teams, and they played with each other in 6 tournaments. So every tournament there was a tournament online happening every month. So there were 6 tournaments, and then the 8 players among the 20 will be selected, and they play a tournament among themselves, and one winner will be found. So that winner will get a chance to play in the Champion Chess Tour in 2022. So Pragg won the selection tournament, all the events, and he qualified to play in the Champion Tour. So he is the youngest participant, and also at the time he was the lowest rated player, and to compete in this tournament. And subsequently, there are many strong players participating, and based on the prize money the players win, in aggregate of prize money, they decide the standings.
I see.
So Pragg has played out of 7 tournaments that has already completed. He has competed in 5. In 2 he could not participate because he had to compete in few other tournaments, and he's in the 3rd position now in the standings. So Magnus Carlsen is number 1, and also in these 5 tournaments he managed to defeat Magnus 3 times.
Yes.
So
that also was news.
Yeah,
yes.
That also gave a lot of credibility, and now even the top players concede that Pragg has established himself at this level. So they're taking it very seriously.
Wow.